I'd like to ask our first speaker, Kosta, please join us. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, everyone. So for those who don't know me, I'm Kosta Pavlović. I'm currently teaching assistant and I hope soon to be associate professor at the University of Montenegro, and also CTO and a co-founder of a recently founded startup called DeepMark, which offers digital watermarking solutions. So I will basically talk about ensuring trust and security within these new challenges that generative AI landscape possess. So the field of AI has seen some significant advancement over the past couple of years. General public may be associated with 2021 or 2022 year when ChatGPT became public and broader audience got to deal with it. But we all know that the things started changing several years before that, mainly in the year 2017, when Google scientists published famous paper called Attention is All You Need, and where they proposed new architectures and new ways of training big and deep neural networks. After that, a lot of new advancements followed, such as GPT models, BERT model, also self-supervised learning was one huge advancement that enabled for models or deep neural networks to be trained on a large volumes of previously unlabeled data. This is a paradigm that enables them to label data themselves and learn from it. Also, AlphaFold algorithm, also published by Google recently, was the reason for some scientists to receive Nobel prizes for predicting 3D structure of proteins based on their amino acid sequence. And then we come to these years that we all know about, 2022, when ChatGPT was made public and also stable diffusion models were invented. As for the past couple of years, GPT made this version 4, which was a huge advancement over the previous ones. Also, some significant startups came to be, such as 11 Labs, who build quite advanced platforms for generating audio, also now music. And in this last year, maybe the biggest things that happened are 2 Nobel Prizes, one for physics and one for chemistry. That's the one with AlphaFold algorithm, which were basically given to the people that do AI. So imagine you being someone that learns about some problem and tries to solve it for decades, and then comes some guy who doesn't know basically anything about it and solves it pretty fast with these new technologies. So now there are growing narratives in the public which pose questions: what will AI do to us? So will it destroy human civilization, or will it take our jobs? But I think those discussions could be left for later, maybe after we had a couple of beers. And I would like to move our focus to more current and real needs, what I believe are the real threats of AI and these new advancements. So for, almost a decade or even more, we are living in this era of data explosion. We are generating more data than we can even comprehend. And most of that data is private, is confidential, is sensitive. And now also a huge portion of that data is being AI generated. So with these models that I mentioned before, there are some emerging risks that appear. So as you can see, there is a more than 3,000% increase in deepfake scams. So deepfakes are synthetic audio, video, or video signals or images that are made by machine learning models such as stable diffusion or generative adversarial networks. And they could be built in such a way that they cannot be distinguished from the real or authentic data, neither by technology nor by some institutions or individuals and things like that. They are making huge headlines across the world. So these are all headlines, I think, from this year. US presidential elections were a huge reason and a great opportunity for those people who want to use this kind of media to maybe damage someone's reputation, maybe to spread misinformation like we see here. In the primary elections, the Biden robocall was made with 11 Labs software that was used to call people and discourage them to going to vote on those elections in New Hampshire. Also, some companies like Arab lost a lot of money due to these kind of scams. And even these deepfakes are making headlines even in our country. So they are a huge problem. Also, what is also a problem is that they are quite easy to make. So in this slide, you will see a couple of examples. So here is an image of newly elected President Donald Trump in prison, which is completely fake and was made with Midjourney software. Also, I will try to show you.
When I was a kid, I was pretending to be Michael.
Sorry. Okay. I will now play you an audio that I made with 11 Labs of our former Prime Minister. It only took me about 5 minutes to do this. I just downloaded a 30-second video of him talking something in English, and I put some text that was not actually made up, that is actually something he did say in some TV show, but I paraphrased it and I used AI to create this fake audio of him. I hope he wouldn't mind. He seems like a guy with a good sense of humor. So.
When I was a kid, I was pretending to be Michelangelo Ninja Turtle. I carried nunchucks and ate pizza. Those moments were pure fun and made me feel like a true hero in a half shell.
Yeah, so that's kind of stuff. I hope I convinced you that this is indeed him, that this is indeed his voice. Although, as I say, I only used like a 30-second long video to make this. So what if I used, for example, like an hour? It's kind of easy to obtain from the internet. But besides public persons, anyone could be a target of this, because all of our data is now online. It is easily accessible to some malicious people, so it is a threat to all of us. Also, the governments or regulatory bodies recognized these threats and are starting to react. Europe was the first one, if you believe it or not. So they, somewhere in March or April, I'm not sure, they devised this EU AI Act, which is it's not a law, it's basically a regulatory framework for a safe AI development and application. The US followed up with an executive order of President Joe Biden that basically states the same and tries to put some regulatory aspects and framework in which these tools should be developed and used. So now I will go to the more technical part of the presentation. This was kind of introductory segment, and talk about the possible solutions, technical solutions to achieving this and ensuring authenticity of digital data. First possible solutions are content tagging and metadata, which means basically adding those authentic information like ownership information and creation and so on to the digital signals. Like, for example, digital signature is an example of that kind of content tagging. So these kind of solutions have several drawbacks because they are quite vulnerable to removal because they are not an integral part of the signal. They are added as metadata, and they can be removed with some rather simple manipulations, such as converting recordings from one format to another and some easy operations like that. And they are also dependent on external systems, meaning external databases in which we must use to compare those metadata and check if they are indeed authentic or not. Then I added this kind of possibilities like blockchain verification. I don't know much about it, but I wanted to hint it to you because I believe here in audience there are some people who know quite a lot about it. So what does it mean and how can it be used to ensure authenticity? We can make immutable ledgers with necessary information about ownership and whatever, which we can then store in the blockchain and later use it to confirm authenticity. What I see as the problems of these solutions is scalability. So I believe it's quite hard to deal with huge amounts of data through blockchain. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. We can discuss this. Then there are also AI detection tools. There is quite a lot of them today. For example, Resemble AI company has one such tool which performs quite well, which is able just to detect if it's something made by AI or is it real and authentic signal without doing anything beforehand. So you just put in signal and it says if it's fake or if it's not. I believe that these are only temporary solutions because these technologies are getting increasingly better, and I think it's just a matter of time before they will be completely indistinguishable from real signals. So then we come to maybe the main topic of what I'm dealing with, of what we and my company are developing. That is digital watermarking. So that is a technology that embeds metadata, embeds copyright or ownership information within signal so that it becomes inseparable part of the signal itself. So they are more resilient to removal because you must change the signal in order to remove the watermark. And in that process, you probably must damage the information it carries and render it useless. So basically, you must destroy the signal in order to remove the watermark. Also, they are traceable because that information that is being embedded can be basically anything. It can be ownership information, user ID, content ID, any kind of array of bits. So I didn't put any limitation or disadvantages of digital watermarking because I don't want you to know anything about that. But believe me, there are. And for one, the the biggest maybe limitation is that it is difficult to make. It's easy to say that you can get some array of bits and put it in a signal so that it cannot be viewed or heard, but it's not easy to do. This is a field that's been developing for the last 30-35 years. And these are some techniques that have been used so far. So in the first row, we have least significant bit techniques, which take the signal and just change the least significant bits of the samples or pixels, depending if you do it with images or with audio. And those kind of solutions have good quality because one of the main requirements of building a good watermarking solution is to retain signal quality at the level it was before you do watermarking. So another advantage is they are simple. Basically, you just get a couple of last bits of every sample and you modify them somehow in order to put those ones and zeros that you will later use to identify that content. But they have huge drawbacks, which is why they are not used in practice, because any kind of noise would completely destroy that kind of watermarking. Also, other kinds of audio effects or image processing attacks will completely disturb those least significant bits and destroy our watermark. Then you have different kinds of methods that deal with pixels or audio signal samples that you can take a whole signal and then modify it in some kind and some way. So there are quite advanced techniques in doing that, but also they showed sensitive to some operations like image cropping or signal resampling and effects like that. The most advanced methods, traditional watermarking methods, are these transform domain methods, which show higher robustness to attacks, but they're quite complex to develop and still showed vulnerable to advanced kinds of attacks. So what are the modern trends in AI in watermarking? That's developing AI-based watermarking solutions. So that's kind of what we do, similar to those guys who did protein structure prediction. So we don't know anything about watermarking and how it is actually done. You don't know anything about signal processing. You just set up a set of objectives to a set of neural networks in such a way that it trains to be a good watermarking solution. So this kind of solution basically consists of two neural networks. One is the encoder and one is the decoder network. On this slide, I have an example of video watermarking solution. So in the beginning, you have your video and a message which is actually a watermark, which you would like to embed in it. And you train that network with some kind of loss. It can be as simple as mean squared error or mean absolute error, or it can be a bit more advanced, like some perceptual distance that includes knowledge about human auditory or human visual system. So you maybe trick people a bit more. For example, people cannot hear very high frequencies, so you can use that also when you have two tones which are in a similar frequency range. One can mask another, so it cannot be heard. So that's kind of tricks that can be used here. Also, you have a discriminator network, but it is not used in production. It's just used to train encoder to build watermark signals as best as possible, so they cannot be differentiated with real and non-watermarked counterparts. Then you have a set of distortion layers where you simulate all these kinds of effects that I mentioned before. So you simulate image cropping, you simulate noise, you simulate compression, anything that you deem necessary. And in the end, there is a decoder network, which is just trained to extract that watermark and confirm that video is indeed watermark or authentic or not. So that's basically the stack of these new AI watermarking solutions. And they have some huge advantages, mainly regarding robustness. So they're easy to train to be resistant to any kind of processing, because the only thing you need to do is to simulate it with neural network layers between these two networks. Besides that, they are able to adapt to signal types, like, for example, if you train it on music, it will adapt to music. If you train it on speech, it will adapt to speech. They are more versatile because in the old days, when a new attack came up, those designers had to really think hard and try to build a completely new watermarking approach in order to be resilient to that attack. Now you just simulate it, and the network will do the rest. Also, no matter how those old solutions seem sophisticated, our cognitive possibilities go only up to a certain point. All those solutions are in the end basically a function, some function of a couple parameters or something like that. Neural networks have billions of parameters, and no human brain is possible of devising that kind of function by hand by itself. They also reduce the need for manual design and involvement of engineers, so because you only need to gather your data and train it. But they are not without their problems, because the AI also showed to pose a serious threat even to these kinds of watermarking solutions. This is a paper that was published this year by scientists from Carnegie Mellon University. And in that paper, they proved and showed actually by experiments that these kind of image watermarks, but I believe the same would go for audio, they are removable using generative AI. So we kind of made full circle here. AI was the initial problem that enabled creation of deep fakes and fake content. We use AI to tag that content and later verify it. And now AI is used as an attacker on these kind of systems, and it removes watermarks from signals. This is done also quite easily. They have some generative models like variational autoencoders or stable diffusion models, and they embed images in some latent space representation, which is represented here as a drawing of a bear's head. And then they add some noise to it and use diffusion model to recreate the original image. And it was shown that this recreated image actually did not contain watermark. Also, they present in these papers a kind of controversial idea about which I don't know what to think. That is that we must shift to a kind of semantic watermarking, which means that the watermarking methods should not try to produce images or audios that are same as the original ones, but the videos that are just semantically the same. Meaning, for example, in this picture, it should produce indeed image of polar bear, but for example, maybe with something behind it, some hill or some tree or something like that, which is basically semantically the same image, but we are not trying to make it as similar as possible to the original one. Okay, so that would be it from my part. Now, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Kosta, before we kick off with questions, I just have a quick one. Given that you mentioned that those guys that they got a Nobel Prize for using LLM models, and you're basically trying to do the same, are you expecting to get the Nobel Prize?
Yeah, I would not hope for that, but it would be nice.
Okay, if you do,
I will remember you. Yeah.
any questions? Don't be shy. Don't, please, not all at once. It was a very interesting topic. A lot of terms, as usual, that I don't understand, but okay, that's what AI is all about. Young gentleman.
Yeah. So, quick one. Do you think we will get acquired in phase just like the 90s when Photoshop first came around? And everybody freaked out, like nothing will be the same, we will not be able to recognize real from fake. What do you think, how the society will come around to your face?
Well, I think it's a good question. I think that it is definitely a possibility that nothing serious will come out of this. But as I showed on some of the slides before, there are already some kind of incidents that are and controversies that are being made with this. For example, those kind of robocalls that were made with Joe Biden's voice. Also, recently, a presidential candidate of Moldova was discredited with a lot of deep fakes, where she was portrayed as to mock poor people or something like that. Also, Hong Kong company called Arab, which deals, I think, with architecture design, I believe. One of their employees was fooled with deep fakes to think that he is doing video conference call with his colleagues from office in London, I think, or somewhere in the UK. And he transferred $25 million to a fake account. So these threats, I think, unlike maybe Photoshop did this something similar. Maybe someone did fool someone with it. I don't know about it. But these threats are already real, and we have something going on. We have some regulation starting. So, and in those documents, AI Act and that executive order, watermarking is highlighted as one of the main means to stop these kinds of incidents and problems.
Young lady over there.
Kosta, do you think that this solution will be actually accepted on the institutional basis, or companies will actually accept it on their own?
So I think that responsible companies will start to include watermarking and similar solutions by themselves, because they tend to go before regulation. Then they don't wait for it. But for the rest of industry, for the rest of the guys, I think the regulation must enforce them to use this kind of content tagging, and then I believe that some kind of certified authority will be formed, where companies such as maybe ours could register and appear as a certified authority for tagging the digital content.
Yeah, just one quick question. So, just to try to understand the scope of watermarking. So, is the issue that you're trying to solve with watermarking that AI today is using a lot of original content to generate new content, right? or is it just some kind of what's saying more firmer way of securing your ownership?
So basically, digital watermarking was kind of got its initial development because of the piracy, internet piracy. So it was primarily used and developed because of those kinds of problems of intellectual property theft and copyright infringement. But nowadays, these are more serious threats and more pressing needs to ensure authenticity and label fake, synthetic, basically, not fake, maybe better word is to say synthetic content, so that you know who made it, when it was made, and who maybe distributed it. For example, with 11 Labs, this was a serious scandal in the US. Those guys actually ended up before the Senate, so the senators interrogated them, and that was a big problem for that company. And maybe with some better watermarking solution, they could track down the user that made this fake robocall. So they were not the ones responsible, but they were the ones who needed to go to the Senate and defend themselves. So these kind of technologies could help those companies protect their liability.
Thank you. Young gentleman over there.
Just come to the darkness. Good light. So, since watermarking can be viewed as a kind of a signature, can we, for example, use message signature algorithms that are used generally for verification of integrity? Since we have two algorithms for that, can it even be used for the solution for watermarking for integrity of the?
If I understood your question correctly, you are suggesting to kind of use encryption, or?
Yeah, like those algorithms providing a signature, digital signature. So can it be used for watermarking since we have algorithms for?
I think there is some kind of possibility, because digital signature itself, it is a separate from the signal. So you can easily discard it. You can easily remove it. Maybe you can embed it in the signal itself, but you will then have a problem with detection, because how do you confirm digital signature? Essentially, you compute it on the receiving end again and compare it with the original one. So in that sense, you couldn't embed digital signature within the signal, because watermarking must change signal at least to a certain point. We try it to be as little as possible, but it must change a signal in a way. So if you would to compute digital signature at the receiving end, it would be completely different from the embedded one. Maybe you could use, for example, half of signal to get the signature and half to embed it. That's maybe ideas I'm just now coming up with. Maybe they're not good at all, but that's only I can see in that part.
Okay, thank you, Kosta. You will be here after the talks. If you want to go anywhere, we won't let him, so feel free to jump him around and ask him further questions.
Thank you.